Hello everyone, thank you for coming out here during this critical time. It goes without saying that behind us, residents of this property were displaced on Tuesday due to infrastructure issues. The last 2 days they have been in a hotel in Providence, and this press conference is for being able to advocate for these residents behind me to be able to have a place to stay while being pretty much homeless at this point. This is a issue of not whether this is the state or the city's fault. This is a issue of people do not have a place to live. And in the midst of a housing crisis right now, it is critical that the city or whoever can step up to be able to put these people in houses for as long as it takes before they can return back to normal. At this time, I have Representative Brandon Potter with me, as well as different residents here at this apartment complex, and I would like to introduce Representative Brandon Potter.
Thank you, Harrison, and thank you all very much for being here today under very unfortunate circumstances. We've come here today in response to obviously the very troubling news that we heard on Tuesday with the infrastructure collapse over here, but more so the really concerning news that we heard last night from Mayor Hopkins, who I want to thank for being here as well today, that in light of CCAP temporarily housing the residents here who have been displaced, they will no longer have that accommodation made to them after tomorrow. Certainly very concerning to all of us, along with the fact that we also were told that the building behind us where this occurred has not been inspected in 50 years, according to the mayor, because of a zoning reclassification from commercial to residential that never happened. So this is not about pointing fingers. This is not about assigning blame to anybody. This is a matter of responsibility for us as public officials and for somebody to take accountability and provide for the residents that we have behind us. I have personally spoken to over 20 residents here today who have told me that as of tomorrow, they do not have another place to go. They do not have a family member to stay with safely. They do not have a friend to stay with safely. I have heard from residents saying that they can afford to temporarily stay in a hotel, but obviously when we have a window of time that suggests this is going to take a few months to actually rectify, very concerning, and ultimately we just want to prioritize the safety and security of the residents here so that they have a safe place to call home while these repairs happen. I want to remind us all that this is against the backdrop of already a very ongoing housing crisis that we have in the state of Rhode Island. On any given night in the state, we have over 400 people who are living on the streets or in cars. We have over 1,200 people who are taking advantage of a shelter or some other accommodation by state agencies and nonprofits. As of tomorrow, the people that I have spoken to are only going to add to that number and exacerbate this crisis. I don't think that anybody here wants that to happen. I'll go out on a limb and speak for Mayor Hopkins. I'm sure that he doesn't want that to happen. From my brief experience dealing with this situation, what I've been hearing is this is a matter of responsibility being designated to the property manager or the landlord or this one or that one. Ultimately, we just need to find a solution right now to provide for these people so they are not homeless. That is the priority. If after the fact the city wants to seek reimbursement from the property manager or anybody that is liable, that is certainly something that can be done, but that is not going to be something that can be done within the next 24 hours and provide stability for these people. So we want to be proactive in this. I know that the city of Cranston has a lot of money in reserve for COVID relief. I don't know if any of that money legally can be allocated to provide for these people for some, longer permanent housing solutions while this gets rectified. But I'm certain that we can all agree it should be a priority, and if we're creative and we prioritize it, that we can find a solution for the people here that we are prioritizing. So with that, I want to introduce one of the residents who I was...
Question, please. Is it okay?
Sure.
Thank you. I know that the mayor's office has been doing everything possible, working with the charitable organizations, Red Cross, CCAP, and also trying to work with the governor's office. Have you or anyone from the reached out to the House of Representatives, the Senate, or the governor's office for assistance for these people, and what are they telling you?
Just to be clear, so there's no lack of transparency. The question is coming from
the director, the chief of staff of the mayor. Correct.
Correct.
And I was very much a part of this. Thank you.
Correct.
And so that's a question we are trying to reach out. So anything you can do in your powers, or from any other legislative influence, it'd be greatly appreciated.
It's a great question, Tony, and certainly legislative-wise, there is a lot that we can do. But as we all know, legislation takes a very deliberate and long process. We have made some very great strides under the recent leadership of House Speaker Joe Shekarchi, who has prioritized affordable housing as our #1 priority in the House. We've dedicated over $30 million to affordable housing and combating homelessness. But this is not something that is going to get rectified without executive action in the next 24 hours. The House is not even in session. I can't go there right now, introduce a bill, have it heard in committee, get it passed, and figure out a solution to that. I have spoken to the executive offices. I have spoken to a number of nonprofit organizations. As far as everybody is concerned, that's why I remind us of the homeless crisis that we have in the state existing already. There are people who are already in line to get some type of housing assistance that they are not able to provide for. So to have a situation where we have a building that has been neglected for whoever's fault, this is not the mayor's fault. The mayor's been mayor for a brief time, right? This did not happen under his watch. But this is something that we ultimately need our city to take accountability for, responsibility for, and lead on. And that's why we're here today, to ask the mayor, to ask this administration to figure out a solution to this issue, to provide for these people until the permanent solution is rectified here. And with that, I'm also happy to take any questions from the press after, if anybody has any.